Hey everyone out there, welcome to Radio Free Decipher. This is Evan Lorenz, and this week I am joined by Mr. Brad DeFruiter.
Hello everybody.
One of my close partners in crime upstairs in the TCG studio.
Yeah, baby.
And I have roped you in as a replacement for Kyle Hoyer, who is on the road this week.
I'm not even going to be close to filling his shoes.
Oh, that's all right. Do you miss not going on the road on these Black Rider tours? You haven't been on one, have you?
No, I haven't. You know, I used to travel all the time when I was in my previous job of coaching, and
yeah.
I just loved the travel so much, but there hasn't been once that someone's gone on a tour that I've said, oh, I wish I was doing that too. I don't know why either. I can't pin it down on anything.
Well, you got to go to all kinds of places, like random little cities all over the U.S.
Yeah,
right?
and big ones too. I think I've been everywhere in the United States except up in the Northeast for track and field. Somewhere all over the place.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
Have you been to that website where you like map out which states that you've been to?
No, I haven't, but I remember seeing some RVs go by where they have the map of the United States on it, and the map's highlighted, and anytime I'd see one of those, I'd be like, I need one of those maps.
What do you think? You've probably been to about, over 40 of the 50 states?
You know what? It's probably around 30.
Okay.
But there's so many of them in the Midwest, that I've been just kind of like, I could go to those anytime.
You've probably got more legitimate claim to having been in some of these states, though, because some of us just, check it off if we had a layover in an airport in that state. We haven't actually.
Right.
But then by that criteria, I can say I've been to Madrid in Spain, and that's really, really stretching it.
That wasn't a planned layover, was it?
No, I think we told that story on Radio Free Decipher, but that was an 8-hour delay that was originally planned to be a trip to Amsterdam and then driving on down into Germany for Essen, and we were going to go to Paris, but then we went to Madrid, and our luggage made it. That was the impressive part of that trip. But anyway, for those of you who tuned in for content, here you go. We are going to have a spoiler from Reflections. I regret that I'm not able to bring you a spoiler from Epidemic this time, but we kind of showed just about everything we have approved in advance, I guess,
or that we know that is at a state that someone
that it can be shown.
Yeah,
a lot of things are at approvals right now, and so that is being dealt with, and soon there will be epidemic-y goodness.
And then on the heels of that, I think we're going to start getting some Mega Man spoilers soon after that.
Yeah, this week there was some kids in our office that were getting to try out the game first, and giving us their feedback. And I know that there have been a few changes that are being talked about in line of it. So
yeah, I was excited about some, just minor changes. But every one of them that I heard, I was just like, yeah, you bet, it's great stuff.
Yeah. So, it's funny, I still have not played Mega Man.
Either have I.
Terrible. Do you even know how it's played?
Yes, I know somewhat of how it's played.
Okay, you're ahead of me then. Yeah. Actually, I hear very good things about it, and I'm not just saying that. I just,
Oh, yeah. Everything I hear, and the balance about it seems so uber intact, is what I love about it.
Uber intact.
My favorite part about all the Mega Man stuff is the look. All of it just looks so sharp and so
I'll have to take
awesome.
A look.
Yeah, crazy looking stuff.
Okay. Well, there you go. Speaking of Kyle being out, which I'm not wasn't speaking of earlier, but I was speaking of much earlier in the broadcast, it just occurs to me that I have to continue the pineapple saga, even though he's out. One of our listeners brought him a gift on the road of a fresh pineapple and said that it worked. There was some kind of story he told, too, and I'm not sure if this was the same guy that basically he was talking about being in a class at college, like where an intense lecture was being given, and he's about to sneeze, and doesn't want to disrupt the lecture, and so he mutters under his breath or thinks pineapples or something, and it works and stops the sneeze, which then makes him bust up laughing, and he disrupts the lecture anyway. So sometimes the cure can be worse than the disease.
See, the funny thing for me was the first time I heard the story, I was like, oh, pineapple. And I thought of the variation of Texas Hold'em, where you get an extra pocket card to begin with, and not the fruit, So I guess I was a little behind on that.
So if you think of playing cards, it may not work?
Yeah, it definitely doesn't work for coughing. I've had a little bit of coughing lately, and I've tried thinking pineapple before. It doesn't work. It doesn't work at all. It must just be the sneezing thing.
Interesting. the ongoing saga. So let's talk about this Reflections card that I have, which perhaps we can spiral into your general thoughts about Reflections, if you have any. I have a Gandalf Culture card with me today. It is called Sent Back, and it is a 9R27. It is a condition that plays in the support area, costs 2, and it reads, Skirmish, : discard this condition to discard each minion skirmishing a wizard. Place that wizard in your dead pile. And then a second function, Fellowship or Regroup, : play a wizard, even if another copy of that wizard is in your dead pile, . So, let's talk about what all this means. Brad, what does all this mean?
Well, first of all, that is not a high-res copy you have there of that image.
No, I slammed I was having trouble printing, so I grabbed an earlier printout and slammed it down on a black and white copier and got this washed out. Very, very difficult thing to read. So I think I've managed to do it correctly.
I think you've done a good job.
Why, thank you. Oh, and I left off the lore, which some people like to have included. It reads, The sun shines through you. And there you go. So, back to talking about the game text.
And you mentioned the collector's number?
I did, a 9R27. So, this obviously is a way, if you have, let's see, Defender +1 Gandalf, is there good ways to set that up?
No, I think there's a buyout on all the cards that offer Defender +1.
Okay.
But it's also just a great way of grabbing your wizard back.
Yeah, well, you can always put some of the big minions that are showing up more and more on Gandalf if he's... And you can almost use him as you would use one of those hobbits that bounces back to hand if you've got a couple of copies of this, because you could soak up a bunch of wounds on a wizard and then let him go and then bring him back.
And and I've seen sometimes when people get a swarm going, they don't always go for the ring bearer. They'll go for someone big in the Fellowship so that they can, at a later site, have a better chance of going for the ring bearer. And if this card is on the table, you're just not going to pile up on Gandalf.
Right. So you can actually, and this works for both Radagast, obviously, and Gandalf, and you can use up to 4 copies in your deck of each if you want. I guess they would be your only companions if you were planning on playing them all, which leads us to perhaps a rules question that you were wondering about the dead pile. If you read in the rule book the way that the rules about the dead pile are written, and the rule of 9, it's already covered. You just kind of have to read the language of it. It just simply says that you cannot have 9 characters, companions in your dead pile and in play total. So it doesn't matter that they happen to be copies of the same guy as this card would allow to happen.
Exactly.
So there you go.
Yeah, I actually like the idea of being able to play a Radagast late in the game after an early one has bitten it.
Absolutely. To
grab an extra move limit and make a nice little run at the end of the game for a triple move to 9 or whatnot.
I saw a lot of triple move Radagast decks being used in Doom playtesting. He was a popular guy. So let's talk a little about Reflections and any thoughts that you have on it that perhaps didn't come up in your chat last week.
Well, I think one thing that hasn't been shown is some of the strong minions, and I think it's because we're just gradually releasing them. I think almost all the minions are going to end up showing up on the online site.
Right.
And I think that some people are just missing some of the obvious strengths with some of these minions.
They showed the Moria card most recently on...
Yep, this Wednesday's Moria card. And the thing that got me about this card is that everybody's talking about his ability, which is, to grab cards back.
Right.
Which, of course, is good, but the thing that for me is his race, and it's orc.
Right.
He's a big orc that you can stack on the goblin swarms, so that means he can just keep
coming back.
Right. So maybe you don't need 4 of these in a deck, but if you do get him out, you can just keep on getting this guy to keep on coming out and put a thumping out on people.
Sure. That sounds like fun.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So overall, the minions I think are really strong coming out of this set. It's just that they don't have the numbers that the Fellowship is, and I think that gives some people a big appearance that the Fellowship is getting stronger with the
I suppose we've probably also been highlighting the Fellowship cards a little bit more in the rollout because they represent more sweeping changes maybe to the nature of the game, with the resistance icon and alternate ring bearers and things of that nature.
Yeah, that's dead on.
Second age characters, so we want to kind of show all that stuff, and the shadow stuff is perhaps a little more normal, I guess.
Yeah, it's normal.
I mean, exciting still, but not quite so radically different from what's come before.
Right,
maybe.
and I think that a lot of these shadow cards are ones that after you play with them a few times, you could just go, wow, this really had an effect on the game, you know.
Yeah.
And I think when we hit to some of these, that it's going to get some people really turning their heads. I think the one that's going to show up in the online game next week, I say that every week, though. So just wait till next Wednesday.
Yeah.
It's a great card, you know.
Card number 2?
I believe it is card number 2. Yes, it is.
I think that Tom let the subtitle of that one slip in his chat.
Well, you know, I hinted at it during my chat as well. Someone asked about it, and I just said, "No, they're savages," you know. So.
Right. Yeah, I think after Tom's chat, it's pretty clear that card number 2 is not another One Ring, as some people were guessing. So there you go.
Yeah, I think us putting if we put 2 One Rings in there, we'd be using up valuable design space that we would want to save till later.
Yeah, I guess that's true. There's only so many ways that you can show the One Ring in cool, full templates as they have.
Yeah.
Okay. What are you working on now?
Well, right now I'm working with you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know the answer to this, but you know, I got to play the interviewer here.
Exactly. We're trying to wrap up a lot of the images and lore for Mount Doom, and development is wrapping up a lot of the gameplay right now for Mount Doom.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to clean up as much of that right now.
And next stop after that will be Fractured Time, correct?
Yes, Fractured Time. Well, we're doing some more Fractured Time right now.
Yeah, we're kind of trying to juggle it, but really the Mount Doom is kind of coming first, and then Fractured Time.
Yeah, well, and then we've got, I think we announced we're doing the Star Wars engine.
Yes.
And we're doing some
busy.
Some early work on that too.
Yes.
There's a lot of exciting stuff.
And yet both of us are here doing this. It's late in the day when we're recording this, you know, we've kind of run out of steam. Nothing better to do than, yak into the microphones for about 20 minutes, 15 minutes.
Exactly. The caffeine I picked up at 3, of course, has got me so excited, that sitting down to file through a whole bunch of images is kind of a waste of that energy. You should be down here gibbering really quick into the microphone.
Yeah, and ordinarily, Kyle and I would fill this space by talking about 24, but of course it got delayed this week, which was kind of a big bummer.
Yeah. We could talk about West Wing, but I don't know if that would be quite the same.
Nah. Not really. It's probably not the same without Kyle anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
And so there you go. I guess we'll go out on that note of missing Kyle. He'll be back next week as far as I know.
As far as you know?
Yeah, I think I'm supposed to pick him up at the airport or something. Not like that's important.
But he'll call you at the last minute?
Nah, he might. He's called me every day he's been gone so far. It's actually been to tell me about these great, all this swag he's been getting, actually. Kind of jealous, but he told me about the pineapple.
Yeah, he's been treated really well on this tour.
He has. You know what, though? You give him the love. He deserves it. But it was very funny because he says, "You will never guess what somebody gave me today," when he calls me, and I said, "A can of pineapples," and he said, "No, a whole fresh pineapple."
Did you really guess that?
I did guess.
Oh, it's great. I can just see it now. Someone's going to hear this, and they're going to want, on any tour stops he has, go give him a pineapple.
I hope he likes pineapple. I assume he does because he's always into mango, pineapple, guava juice, those weird hybrid juices that 3 or 4 things go into. He's a fan, so I think he's probably good with the pineapple.
I wonder if he's going to have trouble on the flight back with
I'm sure he'll eat it before he,
Well, you don't really have the knives and the cutlery and whatnot.
Well, he told me he was going to have to go out and buy a knife. I said maybe someone will bring you a knife tomorrow, but...
Well, if he goes out and buys a knife, I don't think he's going to be able to get that.
That he won't be able to get back, no. I don't know. Now I have images of him trying to slice into a pineapple with some stupid fast food plastic fork. I don't think that'll work too well either.
I was thinking more of his cutting board would be one of those cheap plastic trays in the hotel or whatnot. That they
nice. Nice. Kyle and a pineapple. We'll have to ask him how that eating the pineapple all went down when he's here next week.
Right on.
All right. Well, thanks for listening to our meandering commentary. Brad, thanks for filling in.
Oh, no worries whatsoever.
Everyone out there, have a great weekend.